He's now the man in motion. High set behind Fullerton. Play fake. Fullerton going to go to the air. Even that one up to the near side. That ball is caught. It's Adam Sig down the near side. Cuts back. And Sig will score. No penalty markers down. 75 yards.
Week number 7 now officially in the books as we welcome you back to ISPN.TV as we get set to unveil our latest CET Sports 4A and 5A top 10s. Along with Marty Cesario, Brian Roth back with you. Happy to have you with us here at ISPN.TV. We had pretty good games here that we filmed this past week. 3 of them on tap on CET this week as we take a look. Boulder taking on Horizon. That was a great game. That's going to air Tuesday night. Meanwhile, we went back down to Pueblo. That Cannon game, that's always a lot of fun. Pueblo South and Pueblo East will air Wednesday at 8. And then another big rivalry game up north in Fort Collins as Poudre and Rocky Mountain will finish out our week here on CET. That'll air Thursday night at 8 p.m. And, of course, all those games can be seen a number of other times as we do re-air those for your viewing purposes. All right, Marty, let's get into the 4A and 5A top 10s. And it has been hard to keep track of what's been going on in Class 5A. Here it is. Mullen stays at the top. That's the one constant. I think we all figured it would be the one constant this year. They hammered Cherry Creek, but then it gets a little freaky.
Right, things just get shaken up, but put it this way, 3 of our top 5 went down this past week, so obviously we had some more thinking to do.
Yeah, how about that? Pomona, they were undefeated, knocked off. Chaparral, they were undefeated, knocked off. Columbine, they were 5-1. They get dominated by Bear Creek. Danny Spond looks like he might not play the rest of the year.
Yeah, obviously that's a big issue with such a great player and person in Danny Spond, their starting quarterback, but also the way they got manhandled by that Bear Creek running game. And, a lot of credit goes out to the Bears in the game plan itself, but also the way they executed. Kind of gets me worried about those Rebels as we creep a little bit closer to November.
Well, now you look at Columbine and you look at Chatfield, 2 teams with great quarterbacks coming into the season now without their top guns offensively. Continuing to look at that 5A poll, we kept Columbine in there at number 9, and we'll see how they do without Danny Spahn. But listen, Fairview and Fort Collins, we figured that they're undefeated. We've had Fairview up there the entire season. Right. They deserve to go right behind Mullen with their undefeated records. Arvada West is at 4. They beat Pomona, who's at 5. Pomona beat Chatfield, who's at 6. Chaparral Falls, and there you see Grandview. Islands Ranch probably could have made it into our top 10. They sit at 5-2. There's a handful of other teams at 5-2, Marty, but Ponderosa, we had them in our top 10 last week. They handed Highlands Ranch one of their 2 losses. So.
Right, and Ponderosa beat a Doherty squad that's not that strong this year, but you know what? The rule is you don't get knocked out if you pick up a W, so they get to stay in, and like you said, they beat Highlands Ranch, even though we definitely have an eye on those Falcons because they had 2 incredible wins over Thunder Ridge and now Chaparral, who we had severely highly ranked. I think it's kind of funny how the Front Range League that we thought was kind of weak, and it's still very top-heavy, but look at us, right behind Mullen. There you go. You got Fairview and Fort Collins. Kind of interesting as we have things develop here.
And Fairview plays Fort Collins coming up this week. That is the biggie in Class 5A. You also have Arvada West taking on Bear Creek. It's another biggie, but Fairview, Fort Collins, we're going to see who is the leader in that Front Range League. That's the big game coming up this week in Class 5A. Moving on to Class 4A, and there you see it. A look at our 4A top 10. If it looks familiar, it is. It's the same top 10 that we had last week. Nobody loses. Greeley West continues to roll, as does Pine Creek, Wheat Ridge, Monarch, Heritage, Fountain Ford, Carson. Marty, there are a couple teams that are sitting now at 5-2 that are looking to creep in, but there was no room to get it.
Right. We're talking about Loveland and Broomfield, both 5-2 squads, extremely strong. You do not want to mess with them when we come to the playoffs, but you know what? Not a lot of room. Liberty gets the win, a tight victory over Air Academy, but you know what? They're on top of their Pikes Peak League, and you got to leave them up there, at number 10 there. Montrose gets by Central, eked by, but you know what? Still just 1 loss, and they're very strong. In Durango at number 8, still undefeated. They beat Grand Junction, a 5A squad. Got to keep them up there. No room for Loveland and Broomfield. We'll find out more about those 2 squads real soon, right?
Yeah, that's right. We're going to be covering 4A exclusively here this week. It's just kind of the way that our CET television schedule worked out this year, but boy, are we excited. We're going to get a good glimpse at that Northern League, and it's going to give you football fans out there a glimpse of that Northern League as well. Coming up on Thursday, we're going to have the biggie. It's top-ranked Greeley West taking on Longmont. That could be for that Northern League title. Longmont's lost once. That was to Loveland. Speaking of Loveland, on Friday night this week, we're going to have Loveland and Broomfield. Marty just talked about those two teams sitting at 5-2. Loveland has 2 losses this year. They've lost to Greeley West. They lost to Fairview in Class 5A. And again, we mentioned that win over Longmont. They're good, as are those Eagles of Broomfield. They have 2 losses to Greeley West and to Longmont. So that's going to be a great game. We could see one of those 2 teams in the top 10 coming up after this week.
Yeah, 2 good, strong squads when you talk about those 2. And, you know, as far as heritage goes, you know, the schools that have been around a long time, and they definitely got some great coaching behind them, too. That's going to be a fun one to watch.
Yep, without question. And then coming up this Saturday, we're going to be at Littleton Public School Stadium. We'll have Monarch taking on Littleton. That's a look at our broadcast schedule here in the upcoming week. Topsy-turvy week last week in 5A, 4A Wisconsin, but that promises to change here in the upcoming weeks. That's a look at our 4A and our 5A top 10s right here at CET Sports and ISPN.TV.